Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you the highly requested deck profile for post Dual Overload, post the Banlist, and it is my pure Endymion deck. So do note that this is still quite in an experimental stage, just because the release of Selene has made deck building for this particular deck a lot different because you can either build completely towards Selene with more copies of Magician's Souls and things like that, but I'm not a particular fan of this type of version, just because it does require you to play. It would require you to play like chronograph sorcerers and stuff, and I don't think that's too great. I'm just kind of sticking to what I've been playing and what's been working out for me and what I feel is certainly good. I'm not sure yet on Droll Log, but I think it is a card that's probably not worth playing anymore just because the decks that it would hit are basically gone. The decks like Spiral and Lunalight are basically out of the meta, so this card is not as good as it once was, but it is still a nice card to have in the main deck just to search off Magical Abductor. Once again, if any of you personally know me, you know that I absolutely hate this card. I think this card is trash, but I am playing it because it's actually a fine normal summon, and I'm not. If you notice, I'm not playing spellbook cards in this deck, just because I don't think they're too great in this type of version. There's a different version you can play where you play no abductors. You just play standard. Pure Endymion, but you just play the Spellbook engine instead of the Magician's Souls and Magical Abductor stuff. You could still probably tech in one copy of Magician's Souls, just like even if you can't search it off Abductor. If you just hard draw it, it's fine. If you play only one copy, it means you don't ever actually have the chance of opening multiples. So anyway, let's get on to the deck profile. So it's basically standard. It's 3 of all, maxed out on all the Endymion monsters that are Pendulum monsters, and then the 1 copy of Servant because she is at 1. Maxing out on these is quite important because these are basically your high skills and they're just so good. And then also playing 3 Servant because, sorry, 1 Servant because it's obviously at 1. And then I've cut Basilisk from my deck just because there's a few Garnets in this deck, so I don't really want to play more. Yeah, this is basically it. And Basilisk's not too necessary anyway. Abductor, I absolutely hate this card, but it's a really good normal summon, first of all, because if you can get spell counters on it, it's quite strong. But I'm still unsure if this or Fairytale Luna is better, just because Fairytale Luna is actually so good. It gets you up to Reflection, and Reflection is just like one of the best cards in the deck, I feel. It's like the chronograph basically of the deck. And then we're playing the 1 Droll and 1 Magician's Souls because you can search them off of Abductors on field effect. Important thing to note is that if you scale the Subductor, you are going to want to end the game extremely quickly because this card in the scale is super detrimental a lot of the time, just because the way I usually play this deck is I usually keep my scales pretty empty after my turn 1 board, whatever that is, and I just like to have as much hand advantage as possible. Just because if you draw into, say, a mythical like Master Cerberus or like a Jackal King or whatever, you want to have cleared scales. The other cool thing is ending with Master Cerberus on board and just bouncing it back with your Endymion Mighty Master Magic is a really good way to just have another follow-up for the following turn, because you get to negate their spell and trap, and then you also get to have Master Cerberus in hand next turn. And if you've played it the way I do, you don't have scales. So then you can just go draw, activate Master Cerberus, and start generating a lot of advantage that way by getting something like Garuda or a Jackal King just to be able to go for an OTK. Having Abductor in the scale is really hard to get rid of. You have to get rid of it by A, negating it with your own Mighty Master, or bouncing it back on your turn with Mighty Master, or Pendulum summoning a Reflection and then bouncing back the Reflection to hand. And all those are really, they're quite situational things, and you really don't want this cooped up in your scale for too long. However, its scale effect is fine if your hand's pretty garbage. Just being able to add like a scale you're missing or like one of the negates is fine, but that's just all it is. It is fine. Most of the time, you're just going to be normal summoning this. Obviously, it is quite good with the Spellbook engine, but I still don't think that the Spellbook engine is all that great, just because it's really weird with Desires, and Desires is one of the best cards in the deck. And also, I don't want to play both Abductor and the Spellbook engine in my deck, just because I don't want any conflicting normal summons in my deck. Because like playing Jackal and Abductor in the same deck is already weird enough as it is, because I really like Jackal as the normal summon in this deck, but I digress. But yeah, that's basically it. Magician's Soul is really cool in this deck just because I am playing a lot of field spells, as you can see later on deck profile. But yeah, this card is just amazing in this deck. Hard drawing it is fine. Just the ability to send the dead field spells and just being able to draw extra cards is so nice, and also discarding dead copies of cards like Desires and what have you, just so you have to draw more cards, is just so good. Then on to the spells, Upstart, Mastery, Institution, you know the drill, 2 Magical Citadel, and then main deck Secret Village and main deck Mystic Mine, along with Terraforming and Set Rotation. I really like these cards just because they help you a lot with going second, and it doesn't feel like a lot of decks this format have outs to Mystic Mine. Other cool thing is that this deck is really good into those decks that lock from that play Union Carrier stuff to lock from the extra deck, just because this deck doesn't actually really care about summoning from the extra deck all that much, to be honest. It's quite easy to get rid of the Buster Whelp because you have in-engine outs with like Garuda, and also if you scale Endymion and you manage to resolve it into their big negate board, just if you just like Mystic Mind them or whatever, then you are in the clear. I really like this deck just because of its ability to go second and the amount of utility it has in all these different situations. Also, including these cards into the deck also mean that it's easier to side deck because it is just a lot of engine cards. Cards like Droll Lockbird and Droll Lockbird specifically can just be taken out whenever you're siding. So that's always good. And then yeah, 3 Desires, 3 Call by the Grave, the standard. I really like Call by the Grave still. If it's more of a trap heavy format, it would be considering cutting the Call by the Graves. But as it stands now in this very weird diverse format, I feel like Call by the Grave is still nice just because if people are playing decks like Orcus, playing decks like Rocket, this card is just so good. Just because a lot of decks will just be playing hand traps as format. There's no clear like huge big combo deck. Obviously, in the mirror match, Call by the Grave is completely trash, and if you're expecting to be playing against a lot of trap decks, you can take out the Droll Knockbirds and Call by the Graves, and maybe even the Mystic Mine, for cards like Mystical Space Typhoon in the main deck. I think Mystical Space Typhoon is really good. Even in like, it can also be used as a combo extender in this deck almost. It's kind of cool, just because of Institution, you're able to like destroy your own Mythical Beasts in your scale, get more counters on your Institution, be able to get a search in a pinch. That's all good. Extra deck, quite standard, just like Absolute, Vortex, just because of Selene. These cards are so much better with Selene now. Abyss Dweller, it comes off with a card in our side deck. And also, it's good with Abductor anyway. This could be something else, to be fair, but this is just to play around Dark Ruler, really. Then Boral Sword, Avramax, Abomination. Abomination is a really good card in this deck just because your Mythical Beasts do destroy themselves, and then that triggers your Abomination. This card is also really good to end on against trap decks if you don't have access to Avramax. This card's just amazing. I love this card. Appaloosa, this card's fine. It's not too important, to be honest. You can probably play Borload if you don't really have the money for this. Draco Masters of Tenny makes a return. I think this card's still fine to play. Obviously, like Selene's a really good Link 3, but I think Draco Masters is also just fine enough, to be honest. It just has like a big attack stat. It's like a nice secondary Link 3, basically. And then obviously, Mommy Selene, gain a bunch of spell counters, be able to, she's basically like untargetable, well, for attacks. Well, I have another Endymion card, so that's sweet. Yeah, that's basically it. And then she also has that obviously insane effect as just summon a spellcaster from your hand or graveyard in defense mode to a zone she points to as a quick effect during any player's main phase, and that's just crazy. Then Unicorn Phoenix, Daybreaker. This card's quite good to link climb into Selene, just because this card actually has a really good effect. Just being able to pop a card in the field is quite good. IP Masquerena, Gravity Controller, and Link Rebo. Link Rebo might seem like a really weird card in this deck just because there's really minimal level 1s, like there's like Droll, Magician Souls, and Jackal King. You might be wondering, why am I playing this card? Well, this card's actually quite good against the Dinosaur matchup, and it also does come up when you are normal summoning your baby Jackal, and then just say it gets impermed or whatever, you can like, pop it into a Link Karibo and then bring back the baby Jackal off of Jackal King and then be able to just play on from there. And also just having this engrave against the dinosaur deck is just so powerful just because their entire deck doesn't work if their Lost World just doesn't resolve, basically. And that's basically what this card is extremely good for. Anyway, into the side deck, really weird addition, Amano Iwado. Why is this card in your deck? Well, this card absolutely destroys every single combo matchup you face. Also, it's also really good going first as well. Because what you can do is, you normal summon this, your opponent can now no longer activate any hand traps, right? So that's all fine and dandy. Also, they can't use any of their field effects, so something against something like Rocket, this card is just a complete blowout, and you're just free to just wipe their field with Big Endymion if you have access to it. Furthermore, if you're going first and you have this card, you can go normal summon, and then you just play it your entire turn. You don't get drolled, you don't get ashed, you don't get whatever. And then at the very end, if you combo, you just slap this into a Dweller, and then bada bing, bada boom. You don't have to worry about Dark Ruler no more either, so that's all nice. Obviously, we're playing Secret Village to play around Dark Ruler, but alas, if you don't have access to that, it's fine. You can also just keep it, like, you can just let it bounce back in the end phase and just play around the Biru. That's fine. Also, you have the odd chance of just being able to go Mystic Mine Amano, and that's a really good combo. Your opponent's just locked out of monster effects while this Amano's on the field, and they're also locked out because of Mystic Mine. It's quite fun. And then Tunabiru, this is good into like the blind format, just because it's really good against Salamangre, which this deck can have a little bit of a struggle against. And also just good against decks like Rocket, because that deck can't really play around this card. And other decks that might just pop up that this card's just really good against. And since that this deck isn't actually like a full-on big ol' like combo deck, there is multiple turns in the game, so you can just hold this in hand if your hand's weak, and then just be able to Nibiru your opponent and be able to take the game that way. Lava Golem, another good going second card. Then Pancratops, only playing one just because deciding patterns. Because yeah, you want to put this in against Salad, but you don't want to put this in against Salad most of the time. Then yeah, Pancratops, 3 Ruler, double Cosmic, Reboot, and Typhoon. Typhoon's basically there for any spell fragrance. Same thing with the Cosmics and Reboot, obviously. Yeah, that's basically it. Hope you guys enjoyed my deck profile. Let me know what you think in the comments, and yeah, I'll just see you guys in the next video. Bye.